So much that goes into a successful stream as an income source. It's a really interesting thing to learn about, to be honest. Yeah, we were kind of talking about that on either the last stream or the one before, like how to like stand out on Twitch, how to grow an audience, all that kind of stuff. Different strokes for different folks. There'll be different strategies that, you know, are effective for different folks. It all boils down to like the fundamental decision you make of like, okay, are you doing it because you want to have fun and you want to do it as a hobby, or do you like genuinely want to treat this as like a career and make this something potentially lucrative? Because there are paths you could take to accomplish both things, right? Yes, a lot of it does boil down to like luck, but ultimately luck is just, you know, opportunity meeting preparation. Like you got to put in the hard work, and then you got to put yourself in the positions to, you know, find the opportunities. But what kind of work you do, what kind of positions you're putting yourself in will depend on what you're trying to get out of streaming, right? Doing this for 6 years, I kind of like came to the conclusion that, yeah, I mean, this is something that I think is going to be a hobby for a long time, if not forever, but I'm completely okay with that. At the end of the day, I was like honest with myself at a certain point. Yeah, you know what, man? My goal is to have this as like an archival log to save my memories of games for posterity, to look back at all these awesome moments with stuff I played and the people I met along the way. If I grow an audience out of that, that's great. If I don't grow an audience out of that, that's okay. I'm still loving the games I'm playing. So you got to kind of like identify your goal. Lots of assumptions and very little stats to prove it. The thing is that like, yeah, what works for people is going to be purely anecdotal at the end of the day. Yes, there are things that have been proven to work for a larger number of people, but at the same time, you have to understand like everything at the end of the day is purely anecdotal. If you're not at the right place at the right time, no amount of what you've tried, no amount of like what you've done is going to give you that extra leg up that you need to get to where you need to be. You can get close, right? There are obviously factors you can't control that get you close to the goal you want to get to, but at the end of the day, you also kind of need to be at the right place at the right time. Most of what I know is just from casual conversations with successful streamers I know and successful hobbyists with small audiences that I know. A lot of like varying advice out there, and I wouldn't say anything that I've heard is correct or incorrect per se. Like once again, it's purely anecdotal and it's like what worked for you. Of course, I'm not saying that don't listen to the stuff that people are saying work for them. Definitely take bits and pieces that make sense to you and that, you know, you're willing to try out, but also don't be afraid to like try out things that you think are right. You know, we were talking about this on the last stream. For me, what I found with my channel is that the most growth I ever got, the most I ever had people in my chat, like I kind of do right now, like talking, hanging out, having fun, and creating this sense of community, was when I spent more time on Twitch. You know what? Like most of the time when you see people giving advice, like big streamers and stuff, for how they got to where they got to, the number one thing you'll normally hear is, don't spend most of your time on Twitch. Like spend time on YouTube, spend time on TikTok, on other platforms, making content there, and then trying to like convert people over to your Twitch, right? That actually never really worked for me. I can count on less than 2 fingers one person who actually came from my YouTube content that I've been making for a very long time over to my Twitch streams and who actually hung out and spent time here and everything. And that's the content most people will, or advice most people will tell you to like abide by, which is to, yeah, make content and transfer people over. But that just never really worked for me as much as what people said not to do, which is just spend more time on Twitch, just show up more on Twitch, just hang out more on Twitch. Yeah, don't be afraid to try things that you think make sense for you. It has to be like a nice balancing act of willing to be receptive to advice that makes sense from other people in your mind, but also doing things that, you know, you think you're confident with being able to do that might get you somewhere, right? Just be sincere in what you're doing. Streaming is something you enjoy that involves meeting and chatting with folks as the goal is definitely the way to approach it. Yeah, at a fundamental level, like this should go without saying, you got to like enjoy what you're doing. Like if you're not enjoying something on a base level, it doesn't matter what your goal is, you're just not, you should just stop immediately, in my opinion. If you go into streaming with the expectation of like, shit man, I just want to make money playing video games and that's it, like, yeah, it's not going to work out, obviously. You got to like love what you're doing. You got to love the whole package of playing games and sharing that experience with other people, right? Also notice a few of the learn to stream type content makers. Some of them really hate each other, lol, like neither of them have proof that X works this way, but fuck that dude, X very obviously works the way I think it does. That shit is, in my opinion, stuff that people like spread like it's gospel, but there is no gospel for this stuff. If you notice some kind of upward trend for yourself with how you're making your own content, maybe pursue that. If you don't see a trend there, maybe try something else. There's no be-all, end-all, holy grail kind of like solution to elevating yourself to a certain level with streaming. It's like whatever works for you. You can impart that knowledge to other people, but you shouldn't try and convince people that that's like the be-all, end-all way to go about it, right? because what worked for you may not work for someone else. No, it's like very tiring and grating to like keep hearing this whole phrase of like the algorithm, this whole concept about the algorithm and stuff. But at the end of the day, the algorithm is a wild beast that no one really truly understands, right? Like, yes, granted, there are types of content that have been proven to be picked up more and pushed more by the algorithm. And, you know, you can like truly try to understand that stuff and like work with that stuff to your advantage. And, you know, you can actually get really positive results. Excellent example of a person who very, very intelligently and brilliantly used that information and knowledge to his advantage is my good friend Tuzi here in this community. Freaking crushed it. He started his channel 2 years ago and he already has like 10,000 subs on YouTube. Even then, it's like if you try to just replicate what he did or what someone else did who you look up to who might be someone else who might be successful, that's not necessarily going to work for you. You just got to go with your gut first, see what works. And if that doesn't work, try something else. If that works, try more of that. And then, you know, be willing to, once again, just like keep an open mind and, you know, take advice here and there from other people who've been doing this stuff. I stream as a hobby as it gets me to meet new people, play games while chatting with people in my chat, and to making content. So for me, really, that's like my goal with it too. I can absolutely respect that. Like as someone who's largely been like socially anxious and introverted and stuff, streaming has been the most wonderful hobby in the world for me, because it allows me to interact with people in a way that I feel comfortable. I struggle a lot with interfacing face-to-face with people, and streaming has allowed me to do that in a way where I really do feel comfortable, and I have absolutely loved it ever since I started it, and I'm blown away by my own kind of ability to not feel as anxious as I do in real life when I meet new people and stuff, and feel like I'm connecting with them the way I should be when I meet new people in real life. As humans are social animals, we got to socialize in some way, shape, or form that works for us. So it's made me feel socially healthy. It's allowed me to interface with my favorite thing in the world, which is video games. And being able to marry those two things together has been like wonderful. And yeah, the making content part is what I'm truly passionate about at the end of the day. Like the YouTube reviews that I've made and stuff over the past 4 to 5 years now. No shit, if I could drop everything else, I would be doing this for the rest of my life. Even if I didn't make any money from it, none of that. If that didn't matter, this is all I would be spending every waking second of every waking day like doing. Like that's how you know you're passionate about something, is like, would you do it for free, and would you put your all into it for free? That's advertised, but the Eric V is a good resource for streaming basics, tools and utilities you'll want to use. Explore how to approach your audience and especially disruptive chatters in a positive way. Super nice guy too, always happy to answer questions that aren't too in-depth in his regular streams. Nothing but freaking respect, man, and all the power in the world to the people who base their brand, their channel, their content around assisting other streamers, like setting their stuff up and helping them feel confident with the content they're making. That stuff I think is like bravo, props. All those people deserve all the props in the world. I enjoy when streamers have achieved critical mass but haven't lost their personability, because there's a lot of people like that. Yeah, it's what happens sometimes, and it's kind of understandable. Sometimes the success can get to your head. People are just only human at the end of the day, so there's some who like succumb to that and manifest what happens as a result of that, and you know, that can kind of like alienate their community and everything like that. It is unfortunate though when that happens, and it's very refreshing when you see someone who's like the same exact person they were when they started, regardless of, you know, how far they go with content creation stuff. At the end of the day, all this is to kind of say that it's a very inexact science. The epitome of inexact science, content creation and all of that. The only one thing you should really be focusing on doing, if anything, is just having fun, man. Just have fun with the process. Just learn to fall in love with the process, right? If you aren't already. I don't watch big streams myself. I'd rather be here or another stream when they're streaming because they want to, rather than as an income source. I do like hanging out, yeah, in smaller streamer streams. For me, it's mainly just because they're more likely to engage with you, right? Because you're one of the very few people there. Whereas in a big streamer's chat, you know, much power to them. It's just, the thing is, they're never gonna really notice you. You don't really feel like you're participating in something with them. So I'm kind of with you on that. The way some people talk about it, I think they believe it's Skynet. Yeah, you know, there's like talking about the algorithm, and then there's like talking about the algorithm. You know, there are people who will have like logical, realistic things to say about it, but I've also seen the flip side where it's like people will chalk everything up to the algorithm to an unhealthy extent, where it's like, I'm just not going to make content, or I'm just going to only make this content because everything boils down to the algorithm and nothing else. Like algorithm, like it's like They mention it so many times, like it doesn't even feel like a word anymore. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel a little bit bad for those people because from what I've seen, because I'm on these like subreddits and stuff, like YouTubers and like where it's like mostly small YouTubers and people who are new on the scene and everything like that. And most of the posts there like are from people who are dismayed very easily and like give up very easily. And the number one thing I noticed from most of those people is them just kind of chalking it up to the algorithm, just always the algorithm, right? You have to be a little bit honest with yourself and kind of ask yourself, like, if you actually want to be somewhere where you're not on YouTube, okay, what could I be doing differently? What if the problem is not some perceived algorithm, which yes, it is a thing, but what if I'm like, you know, overstating just how impactful it is on the performance of my content? And what if I need to change something up? Unfortunately, like from what I've seen, I would like to think it's the opposite. That mentality seems to be the prevailing one. I feel like a lot of small YouTubers give up very easily because they post a couple videos and the videos don't get them to where they want to be. And they're like, yep, the algorithm like screwed me over. There's no point. I'm just not going to get lucky. Gotta like try not to fall into that trap. I think everyone's been there at some point or another, right? I'm not saying that I'm completely guilt-free of tangling with that thought process. In the past, like there have been some times here and there where I felt like really low, like where I put so much effort into like certain videos and I felt like I did everything right. And the video never ended up getting more than like, I don't know, like 80 or 90 views. Like some of the best videos I've made haven't ever gotten more than 100 videos on my channel. At the end of the day, I realized that like, and this is why I'm like a part of why I have the mentality I have towards streaming and content creation and stuff. I realized that the kind of content I love making is super oversaturated. And that's when you kind of have to make that decision of, okay, do I want to keep making content I want to make regardless of where it's going to take me? Or if it's going to take me anywhere, or do I make content that's going to have people wanting to watch it, that people are interested in watching? Having watched a lot of low viewership streamers, I think a lot of people who bail out and blame the algorithm are just making basic mistakes that make the stream unenjoyable, but apparently it's the algorithm. Well, there are very clearly things in any given situation that you could be doing better. You could always be improving something or another. Like now, whether or not you should improve is a question of like, that depends on where you want to be. Like if you're completely happy, you're completely fine, completely content, dude, much power to you. You know, even if there may be things you absolutely can improve on, like shit, if you don't think you need to improve, but you're happy, like, and you're doing shit you enjoy and it doesn't affect others negatively or anything like that, like, dude, go for it. But if you're genuinely kind of like miserable, or not even miserable, but just dismayed to miserable, somewhere in that spectrum, and you're like not taking some time to like reflect and look inwards, then it's like, yeah, I mean, you're not going to make it far, man. And I get that it's hard. Like, I understand that it's hard, man, sometimes to like want to take that moment to like introspect, but it's something you've got to learn to like, you know, dabble with. Man, at the end of the day, if you really want to be in this for the long haul, like shit, you just got to enjoy the process, because that way on the days where you're at your lowest, because again, we're all only human. I'm not saying that you should never feel like shit if your content isn't, you know, where you want it to be, or, you know, you shouldn't feel like shit if, you know, you put a lot of hard work into something and it didn't get anywhere. You're allowed to feel that way. But listen, man, like the difference between the person who will continue doing it and the person who will capitulate is whether they at a bare minimum level really enjoy what they're just doing in general. You know, let's say you have a day where literally no one stops in, man. You have 0 viewers, no, like you have like some of the craziest, maybe you're like a guy who plays a lot of like PUBG or whatever, right? Fortnite, and you run some crazy, insane like kill streaks. You got #1 in Fortnite. I don't know. I don't play those games, but let's say you did some really cool shit and no one was there to watch it. If you give up after that, that's understandable. But I promise you, if at the very least you just enjoyed doing the stream and broadcasting that, if not for anyone else, but for yourself, like just the experience of the process of going through all of that, you enjoyed it on some level, it makes a world of difference. Like you got to kind of like just enjoy the process, man. That's once again ultimately what it all boils down to. You either have to put in effort to get your stream to a good place, or you have a massive rack. Basically the only 2 ways to get higher viewership. I mean, I agree. Shit, like at the end of the day, I can't disagree with that.